Discover how a hidden heroine transformed a millionaire CEO's twins in just one incredible week. Jessica had always believed in the magic of dreams. As she served tables at the local diner, surrounded by the buzz of laughter and the clinking of coffee cups, her heart filled with hope. But reality often made her dreams feel far away, especially as a single mother struggling to raise her spirited 7-year-old twins, Mason and Mia. Their father, David, a tech CEO who floated above their world, remained more engrossed in his business empire than the precious lives they led. This week's family crisis, however, had brought a sliver of hope and a rush of anxiety. Mason and Mia would stay with their father for an entire week. Jessica felt a knot tighten in her chest, a mix of worry for their emotional well-being and a flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, something might change. In the expanse of David's mansion, sterile and cold as a corporate boardroom, Mason and Mia found themselves dwarfed by their father's success. David, preoccupied with pitches and profits, noticed little of the shadows behind his children's smiles. Enter Clara, the tough but loving nanny hired to care for the twins. With a no-nonsense attitude and a warmth that felt like home, she quickly gained the twins' trust. She saw it right away, their longings, frustrations, and fears hidden beneath the surface. Mason tried his hardest to be perfect, pouring himself into endless attempts to earn his father's praise. Meanwhile, Mia often felt like she was living in her brother's shadow, struggling to find her own place. However, Clara ignited a spark in them that David had long overlooked. They embarked on an adventure, climbing local rock walls, their laughter echoing against the colorful holds. "I'm not scared of heights anymore," Mason shouted as he reached the top, his small fists raised in triumph. Clara beamed, knowing this was about more than just climbing. It was about confidence, connection, and finally feeling seen. At the community fair, the trio constructed a vibrant booth, showcasing their handmade crafts. They blended seamlessly with families gathered, uniting over homemade pies and games. When they spun around on ride after ride, David, still tethered to his phone, managed to catch a glimpse of joy on their faces. Something stirred in him, a flicker of realization that he might actually be losing them to the very world he built. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the week drew to a close, Clara's influence began to shake the foundations of David's world. He started questioning himself, confronting the painful truth about success and family. Just when it seemed like a real connection was forming, Clara revealed a secret that threatened to unravel everything. Would she stay, or would the magic she created disappear? Mason and Mia clung tightly to the newfound love and adventure, their hearts echoing the fear of abandonment that Jessica knew all too well. What would David choose in the end? As the clock ticked down on their fragile progress, tension surged. Their fate hung in the balance, leaving everyone uncertain about tomorrow. Jessica stood behind the counter of the diner, the savory scent of pancakes and bacon wafting around her like a comforting embrace. Yet, her mind was miles away, drifting toward the polished marble floors of David's mansion. What if this week had been the turning point she desperately hoped for? Each ding of the register punctuated her worry, and she found herself tapping her fingers anxiously, counting the hours until the twins returned. Back in the mansion, tension simmered in the air as David faced the twins, who remained hesitant yet hopeful. Clara had woven joy into their lives like a seamstress stitching a cherished quilt. But as reality loomed, uncertainty tightened its grip. "Clara, can you tell us now?" Mia's voice was soft, but it held the weight of 1,000 questions. David's eyes shifted toward the nanny, panic flashing across his face. "They deserve the truth," Clara replied, a mixture of warmth and firmness in her tone. The intensity in the room thickened. "Your dad has been really busy, and he needs to understand what family really means." David shifted uncomfortably on the couch. He had conditioned himself to deflect discussions about feelings and emotions. Now, he found himself retreating into silence. But the eyes of his children, wide and pleading, reached straight to his heart. "Dad." Mason's small voice trembled. "Can you sit down with us? We just want you to be part of our lives." Clara's presence seemed to empower them. In that moment, they weren't mere shadows of their father's world. They were vibrant, hopeful children ready to claim their father's love. Reluctantly, David sat. Their gazes locked, a battlefield of hope against his echoing regrets. "I know I haven't been around much," he began, intent on forming a bridge but fumbling through the words. "It's okay," Mia whispered, her innocence shining through. "We just want you to play with us. Laugh with us." The list continued, the children's dreams spilling into the open. Clara watched. A mix of pride and anxiety knotted in her stomach. Part of her was terrified of what David might do next, but mostly, she felt a flicker of hope for them all. This was the moment she had worked for, the catalyst for transformation. With every word that flowed from the twins, David found himself peeling back layers he didn't know he wore. "I've been so focused on work," he confessed, "that I lost sight of, well, all of you." It was as if a dam had broken. The flood of emotions surged: regret, remorse, but slowly, the hope tethered him to the truth. Could he really reshape his priorities? Would he be courageous enough to step into this new light Clara had cast on their lives? As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the mansion in shades of gold and crimson, David exhaled, realizing he was standing at a crossroads. Clara had given him a chance, and now he had to decide if he was willing to meet it head-on. "Just one more day," he said, glancing at the clock. "One more day to figure this out." Mason and Mia exchanged gleeful looks, their hearts swelling with the possibility of what tomorrow might bring. David nodded, filled with tentative hope, yet a flicker of doubt still lingered. Would he really be able to change? Could they build something new together? As night settled in, the walls that encased David's heart were still frail, and the challenge loomed before him. Clara's secret remained unspoken, swirling like a dark cloud. What if he wasn't ready for the truth? Tomorrow could either be a fresh start for the entire family or the moment everything came crashing down. As they retreated to their separate corners of the massive home, the weight of uncertainty loomed heavy. What awaited them in their fragile new beginning? Morning light streamed through the gilded windows of David's mansion, illuminating paths of dust dancing in the air. The twins stirred, excitement bubbling beneath the surface. It was the day they had been waiting for, a chance to change everything. "Dad!" Mia shouted, a grin stretching across her face as she bounded down the hallway. David was in the kitchen, stirring coffee, the smell rising rich and awakening his senses. Each ring of the twins' laughter sent warmth through him, igniting a spark of hope he hadn't felt in years. The promise of family crept into his heart, pushing aside the weight of business pressures that always seemed to linger. "Sit down for breakfast?" he called, his voice wavering slightly with nerves. This was new territory, trying to be the dad his kids needed. The twins tumbled into the kitchen, eyes bright with energy. "We're having pancakes, right?" Mason asked, bouncing on his heels. David chuckled, a genuine sound that surprised even him. "Absolutely, and I'll even let you add chocolate chips if you want." "Yay!" Their cheers filled the room, and for a moment, clarity washed over David. The burdens of his responsibilities faded, replaced by the simple joy of being a father. As they sat down, Clara moved through the doorway, quiet and steady. She watched them with a mix of love and concern. She understood the family dynamic better than anyone, and she knew that today was pivotal, not just for David but for them all. "Let us make a deal," David suggested, glancing at his children. "If you two help me with some ideas for our day, I promise to take a half-day off work." The twins exchanged excited whispers, a storm of creativity brewing. "We want to go to the park," Mia decided. "And then maybe a picnic?" "Great idea. And I can pack lunch," David answered, his heart racing at the thought of an afternoon filled with laughter and play. It felt so simple, yet it was everything he had been missing. After breakfast, They stepped outside, the warmth of the sun wrapping around them like a welcomed hug. David felt lighter, buoyant even. For too long, he had been trapped in a life measured by meetings and deadlines. Outside, in this moment, was where real life happened. At the park, the atmosphere buzzed with joy. The twins darted toward the swings, their laughter ringing out, a melody he hoped never to forget. Clara stayed back for a moment, allowing herself to breathe in the scene. David was finally engaging, and the initial hesitation he wore like armor was beginning to crack. "Mason, higher!" Mia shouted, her face alight with happiness. David pushed Mason a little more, his laughter intertwining with that of the children. Each swing upward felt like a small victory against the pull of his old routines. Then a small voice broke through the day. "Hey, mister!" A little girl, no more than 7, appeared, clutching a stuffed animal. "Can you help me on the slide?" David turned, instinctively crouching to her level, his heart swelling with tenderness. "Of course, let us go together." He stood up and took her hand, and with that small act, a warmth unfurled within him, a feeling he had forgotten existed. After sliding down together, he felt someone tapping his shoulder. Clara stood there, eyes wide. "You really are doing it," she whispered, pride shining through her gaze. "The kids are so happy." As they gathered for the picnic, David looked at the spread of sandwiches and fruit, all set against the backdrop of a sun-soaked day. Might this be the moment everything changed? But Clara's eyes held a flicker of worry. The truth she carried lingered like a shadow. As David laughed with the twins, that unease beckoned, a reminder that they weren't done yet. There was still so much left unsaid, and the day could only rewrite so many chapters. That in the depths of his heart, David felt the swell of love combined with dread, knowing there was still a secret standing between them, a choice waiting to be made. When would the moment come when everything would shift again? The sun hung lazily in the sky, a golden orb casting gentle rays over the park. The laughter of the twins bounced off the trees, uplifting spirits as David laid out the picnic blanket, the fabric billowing softly in the breeze. Sandwiches, cut into triangles, fanned out next to vibrant red apples and bright yellow bananas. He felt like a kid again, caught in a moment where everything felt right. Mason and Mia raced over, cheeks flushed from play. "Can we eat now?" Mason exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with eagerness. "Sure. Dig in," David encouraged, gesturing to the feast before them. They plopped onto the blanket, and the next few moments were filled with cheerful chatter punctuated by the munching sounds of their lunch. Clara settled down beside David, her smile reassuring, but a hint of tension still lingered in her eyes. He stole a glance at her, his mind whirling. What was weighing on her? She seemed to be caught between joy and hesitation, and it tugged at him, a knot in his gut. "Are you enjoying this?" he asked softly, hoping to bridge the distance he sensed. "Oh, absolutely," she replied, though her gaze drifted toward the twins. "But Her voice trailed off, and he felt the words lingering unspoken. They were clouded by a layer of reality he was trying to escape. Mia looked up, syrupy sweetness coating her lips as she spoke. "Can we tell Dad about the surprise, Mommy?" David's heart skipped a beat. "Surprise? What surprise?" He turned to Clara, wide-eyed, desperate for her to share whatever was hidden. Mia bounced in her seat, brimming with delight. "We want to show you a special spot we found. It's at the edge of the park. There's a big tree, and it has the best view ever." David chuckled. "All right, show me on one condition: no climbing that big tree. I'm not ready for any hospital visits today." The twins squealed with laughter, the tension briefly punctured. As they finished their lunch, David's heart lightened, drawing energy from their excitement. They packed up the remnants, and he appreciated that he was willing to step beyond the boundaries of his old life. This was a new chapter as they walked toward the hidden spot. Mia took David's hand, and Mason skipped ahead, calling out directions. The trio held an infectious enthusiasm that made the world feel right. It was a simple walk, but to David, it felt monumental. When they reached the tree, the sight of it was breathtaking, a majestic oak with sprawling branches casting intricate shadows on the ground. "Wow, David breathed, feeling a sense of calm wash over him. The view of the park from here was gorgeous, sunlight filtering through the leaves, creating a unique patchwork of light. "I told you," Mason said triumphantly. David kneeled down beside them, delight blooming in his chest. "This is wonderful. You guys have such great taste." Mia giggled, spinning in circles. "Can we make a wish?" she asked. "Absolutely. One wish each." He smiled, caught up in the moment. They closed their eyes, small voices murmuring secrets into the wind. Clara stood slightly back, her arms crossed, watching. But in that stillness, he suddenly remembered the weight of the unspoken truth that had lingered through the day. The wish was palpable, genuine happiness slathered with the raw edge of reality. As the twins finished, both beaming, Clara stepped forward, determination etching her features. "David, we need to talk," she said steadily, her voice clear, now cutting through the joyous atmosphere like a sudden gust of wind. His heart sank, fear creeping in. The shadows of the secret loomed large, and David felt the world around him growing suddenly still. What truth lay waiting in those moments? The air felt thick with uncharted territory, and David braced himself for whatever was to come. "What do you want to say?" He exhaled, the laughter of the twins now a velvet sound, fading into a tense silence awaiting revelation. Clara took a deep breath, her eyes searching David's. The colorful world around them, vibrant and alive, faded slightly under the weight of her words. "You know how things have been lately?" "Difficult?" she started, her voice steady but soft. The twins perched at her feet, blissfully unaware, still lost in the joy of the moment. David nodded, his heart racing. He wished he could shield them from whatever storm was about to break. "I've been thinking about what's next for us. For the kids," Clara continued. "And I've realized I haven't been honest with you or even with myself." David felt a mix of panic and curiosity. She hadn't just been preoccupied. She'd been wrestling with something. The looming uncertainty clawed at him, pulling him deeper into the abyss of worry. "Mason and Mia love you. You know that, right?" Clara's voice was tender, but she pressed on. "And I want them to have the best more than what we've had. But I felt like I was standing on a ledge, afraid to jump." "Jump?" he echoed, his voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," she urged, a fresh spark igniting in her eyes. "I've been offered a job, a really good job. One that could change everything." His mind raced. "A job? A change?" He opened his mouth, but the words tangled in his throat. "What does that mean for us? For the twins?" "It means we could have a chance to start over like a clean slate," she explained, tightening her grip on her arms. "But it would mean moving away. To the city." The realization hit him like a cold wave. The city, familiar yet alien. Everything from his childhood bubbled back to the surface, memories of bustling streets and distant landmarks sparking questions within him. "What does the city offer that we can't have here?" He finally managed to ask, eyes locked onto hers. Clara hesitated, considering her answer. "Opportunities. For work. For the kids. Better schools, better options. We wouldn't just exist, we would thrive. I want them to have chances we couldn't, even if it means leaving this place behind." David felt torn. Hope mingled with fear, and the thought of uprooting from this newfound sanctuary twisted in his gut. Would it really be worth it? Would the twins be happier? Just then, Mia tumbled onto the ground, sending a shower of laughter into the air. Mason joined in, and their carefree giggles pierced through the tension. David's heart swelled with emotion watching them, innocent and bright, unaware of the shifting currents around them. Clara's gaze softened as she looked at them, joy wrestling with the seriousness of the moment. "They're ready for something new. We all are if we let ourselves be. But it has to be a joint decision, Clara," David said, his voice tinged with urgency. "I need time to think. This is a lot." She nodded, sadness flickering across her face, but understanding replaced it quickly. "I can give you that. Just know that whatever we decide, I want it to be together. I can't do this without you." He breathed in, the weight of her words resonating deep within. The possibilities stretched out like the horizon before them, sunset yet to fully unfold, unclear and bright. For every worry, a glimpse of hope danced beneath the surface. A chance for more. But at what cost? As the twins scampered toward the edge of the cliff, David felt Clara's hand squeeze his. "We'll figure it out," she whispered, and he wondered if he could let himself believe that. But a question loomed large in his mind: could the city truly be the answer they needed? Or would it eclipse the happiness that had just begun to take root here? And as he looked at the laughter stirring around them, David felt the enormity of their next steps settle heavy in his heart. What would he choose? The wind rustled through the leaves, carrying along the fate of their journey yet to unfold, the tension thick in the air as everything hung in the balance. David stood at the edge of the cliff, the vibrant world around him filled with laughter, the chaos of thoughts swirling in his head like a storm. He could see Mason and Mia playing, their laughter ringing like bells, bright and free. But in that moment he felt anything but light. Clara's words hung heavily in the air, and the reality of their lives felt like it had been turned upside down. He watched as Mason chased after a butterfly, his small arms outstretched with uncontainable joy. Mia twirled, a whirlwind of giggles and spirals, her hair catching the light, creating a glow around her. They were a picture of innocence, blissfully unaware of the adult dilemmas brewing just a few feet away. "How could I take them away from this?" David whispered, more to himself than Clara. The roots they had planted in this tiny town, the friendships they had formed, it all felt so precious. Clara stepped closer, her voice gentle as she reached out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "David, think about what we could give them. The experiences waiting for us in the city, the friends they would make, the education." He turned to her, searching her eyes for reassurance. "Are we really talking about leaving everything behind for some idea of better? What if it's not what we think?" Clara frowned, but there was determination in her expression. "I need you to trust me. This job isn't just some opportunity. It's a chance for us to create the life we've always dreamed about. It's a way for us to thrive instead of just survive." As the sun began to sink lower in the sky, a gold hue painted everything in warmth, David's heart remained heavy. The city seemed like an impossible puzzle, brighter but more chaotic. "Think about it," Clara said, her eyes earnest. "The twins deserve to have more than we had. This could be our moment. But if we are going to make this work, you need to be on board with me." The air felt thick, and the tension stretched between them, electric and heavy. He glanced back at the twins. What if they hate it? What if they can't adjust? They've lived here their whole lives. They're resilient. "Kids are adaptable," Clara reassured him, but her voice held an edge of desperation. "They just want us to be together and happy. We need to show them that it's okay to chase dreams, even if it means making tough choices." David took a deep breath, pinching the bridge of his nose, feeling the weight of all this responsibility. Suddenly, Mia rushed toward them, a big grin plastered on her face. "Look, Daddy, look what I found." In her tiny hands, she held a delicate flower, its petals bright against her small palm. She raised it high, her eyes sparkling with pride. "I want to plant it in our garden. Can we, please?" The sight tugged at his heart, the symbol of hope and new beginnings. "Of course we can, Mia," he managed to smile, but his thoughts raced. Would their new home allow for such simple pleasures? Clara watched the interaction, her heart softening as she felt the connection between father and daughter. "David, it's moments like these that mark our lives. We're not just moving, we're expanding our horizons. The city can offer so much for them, especially with what I could provide." He nodded slowly, the enormity of the decision beginning to settle. But still, doubt tugged at him like a child seeking their parent's attention. "I just don't want to fail them." "You won tea," Clara said softly, moving closer to him. "Together we won tea. Trust that, just like how they trust us." The words resonated, and David looked again at Mason and Mia, who were now racing around, their laughter enveloping him like a warm embrace. He felt something shift inside him, a little spark of hope surfacing. "I need time to figure this out," he said finally, his voice steadier now. "But maybe, just maybe, it could be worth exploring." Clara's face lit up with a smile, a blend of relief and joy washing over her. "Thank you, David. That's all I ask. Let us dream together. We can make this work." But just as the weight in his heart began to lift, a feeling of trepidation crept back in. The city was uncharted territory. What if it changed them in ways they couldn't foresee? David pulled in a deep breath. What would he choose? As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the ground, the question loomed over him like a dark cloud. And as they began walking back toward the laughter of their twins, one thought lingered in his mind: what if he discovered something in the city they never expected to find? The following days were a whirlwind of emotions for David. The conversations with Clara hung over him like a persistent shadow, tempting him with the promise of something greater while weighing him down with fear. Each morning, as he sipped his coffee, he watched the twins play in their backyard, their innocence a stark contrast to the heavy thoughts battling in his mind. Mason and Mia would chase each other around, oblivious to the underlying tension that had suddenly woven itself into their family's fabric. Their laughter rang out, like music, but each giggle seemed to echo David's doubts. He often caught himself looking for signs of adaptability in them, moments when they surprised him with their resilience or ability to embrace change. One afternoon, Clara took the twins to a local park while David stayed back to think. He sat on the porch, the warmth of the sun on his face, trying to picture a life beyond their quiet town. Would their new home be just as welcoming? Could they find friendships? Would they remain the same? Or would the city turn them into something different? Lost in thought, he was suddenly interrupted by the sound of laughter approaching. He turned to find Clara and the kids returning, a woman in tow. She wore a bright sundress, her hair dancing against the breeze. Introducing herself as Sarah, a local artist, she approached them with a broad smile, eyes twinkling with life. "Mia," she exclaimed, bending down to admire the flower the little girl still clutched in her hand. "That's a beautiful blossom. Did you pick it from your garden?" Mia nodded, beaming with pride, and for a moment, David felt a sense of ease. Sarah had a magnetic energy that drew the twins in. She began to weave stories about her art, the colorful murals she painted throughout town, and how inspiration could bloom from the most unexpected places. As they listened, David felt something stirring within him. Here was proof that beauty could thrive anywhere. The small-town charm that surrounded them didn't have to be lost in the chaos of a big city. It could evolve instead. "Do you have kids?" Clara asked, her interest piqued. "Oh no," Sarah said with a laugh. "But I work with children at the community center and often hold workshops. Kids have this amazing ability to see the world differently, to allow creativity to flow. They teach me as much as I teach them." At that moment, David realized how easily people like Sarah could make a difference in their lives. Could he find similar connections in the city? Would there be passionate individuals who could inspire his children and help them grow? As the conversation flowed, David found himself relaxing. Maybe moving wasn't about erasing the past but blending it with the new. Maybe cities were filled with their own treasures waiting to be uncovered. That night, as the family settled down for dinner, David felt lighter. The prospect of change no longer felt like a heavy burden. Instead, it transformed into a beacon of hope. Clara's eyes sparkled as she caught him smiling at the twins, who were busy arguing about the best part of their park adventure. "Did you enjoy Sarah?" she asked, her excitement palpable. "Yeah, she's great," he replied, a grin spreading across his face. Maybe we could find people like her in the city." Clara's gaze softened. "See? You're warming up to the idea." But as David watched the twins laughing, the flicker of anxiety returned. Would they adapt to city life as well as they did in their familiar surroundings? His heart pounded a little harder, uncertainty returning to claw at his resolve. What if their experience in the city didn't match the dreams they painted in their minds? David took a deep breath, trying to chase away the fear. He couldn't ignore the nagging question. What if amidst all the changes, they discovered something about themselves they had never known? As the dinner discussion faded into laughter and chatter, David felt a surge of determination. He knew their future held great surprise, equal parts frightening and thrilling. And as he locked eyes with Clara, he sensed a bond growing firm between them. Together, they would navigate this uncertain journey. But still, one thing gnawed at him. What if the city presented challenges they weren't prepared for, challenges that tested their family in ways they could never foresee? The day dawned a soft shade of gray as rain tapped against the windows. David watched droplets race down the glass, drawing patterns of movement. That morning felt different, like the world outside would spill secrets if only he listened closely enough. The city felt alive with promise, yet a veil of worry still clung to him. "Dad, can we go to the park again today?" Mason's voice broke the stillness, breaking David from his contemplation. Clara entered the kitchen, waving the twins' shoes like a flag of enthusiasm. "How about we visit Sarah's gallery downtown instead? She mentioned they have an art exhibit opening today." David felt a flicker of excitement, though it was shadowed by apprehension. "The city, it's busy, right?" Clara smiled, her confidence firm. "Yes, but that's the beauty of it. We have to see it to believe it. Adventure awaits." Mia jumped up and down, her ponytail swaying. "I want to see the paintings, Mommy. I want to paint too." Seeing the children's eagerness made something inside David shift. Perhaps this didn't just have to be a transition. Perhaps it could be a new beginning. They hustled to get ready, laughter bubbling up, drowning out David's doubts as they drove through the city. David feasted his eyes on the vibrant street art mingling with the architecture. Clara pointed out landmarks, filling the car with stories and suggestions. The rhythm of urban life swelled around them, the honking horns, the chatter of pedestrians, all splashed with colorful billboards promising thrilling experiences. When they reached the gallery, they were met by Sarah, whose warmth welcomed them like the sun breaking through the clouds. "I'm so glad you came. This is a special day for me," she said, her eyes twinkling as she guided them inside. The walls were filled with art that told stories of its own, bright colors clashing and harmonizing, much like their family's impending change. Mason stepped forward, mesmerized by a mural depicting a towering cityscape. "Look, Dad, it's so big and cool. It feels alive," Mia added, her finger tracing the edges of a particularly colorful painting. David felt his heart swell. For the first time in days, he saw through their eyes the thrill of encountering the new, the delight in exploring what was yet to come. Sarah watched them, her smile a mirror of joy, and suddenly the fear that gnawed at him felt smaller, like a shadow fleeting in the daylight as they moved through the gallery. Sarah began to talk about her work. "Art is not just what you see. It's what you feel," she explained passionately. "It's about transforming spaces, creating stories that resonate with everyone. You're lucky to be on this journey, to embrace change and discover yourselves." David glanced at Clara, who nodded with understanding. They had both been too tangled in their thoughts to see it from this perspective. Could moving to the city be an opportunity not just for Mason and Mia, but for them, too? The twins rushed between installations, filled with energy, while David and Clara shared smiles filled with unspoken promises. That day was turning into something extraordinary, a day of unexpected hope. But just as David began to feel at ease, an unsettling thought crept back. Would they truly find their way in this new place? Would the connection they were building today withstand the tests of tomorrow? As laughter filled the air around him, David knew they were on the cusp of something meaningful, but an echo of doubt remained. When he caught Clara's eye, he asked quietly, "What if the city demands more than we're prepared to give?" Clara's expression turned serious, yet her firmness shone through. "Maybe that's exactly what we need to give more, to grow more. We're a family, and together we can face anything." As they left the gallery, David felt a pulse of courage alongside the lingering anxiety. Could the challenge be the key to unlocking their true potential? The day was far from over, but it was already shifting something deep inside him. With a renewed sense of purpose, he squeezed Clara's hand. As they stepped out into the bustling streets, David couldn't shake the feeling that the city might hold more surprises than he ever imagined. And in the distance, his heart raced with thoughts of the adventure ahead. What if, amidst all the chaos of the city, they uncovered hidden strengths both as a family and as individuals? The streets buzzed with energy as the family stepped out of the gallery, the rain having slowed to a soft drizzle. Bright umbrellas popped open, creating a mosaic of colors against the muted backdrop of the city. The scent of wet pavement mixed with the aroma of fresh coffee wafting from nearby cafes, enticing David and pulling him deeper into the moment. "Can we get hot chocolate?" Mia's voice, bright and eager, rang out. "Me too," Mason chimed in, his eyes shining with excitement. "Why not? It's a perfect day for a warm treat," Clara replied, her smile infectious. They turned towards a cozy cafe, its windows fogged up from the warmth inside. As they settled into a corner table, the mood lightened. David watched as the twins eagerly unwrapped their hot chocolate, delighted by the whipped cream piled on top like a soft cloud. He couldn't help but chuckle at the way they debated the best approach to enjoying their drinks, each trying to come up with the most creative method to garner the maximum amount of sugar. "This feels nice, doesn't it?" Clara said softly, reaching across the table to squeeze David's hand. "Like we're really starting to find our place here." He nodded, reflecting on her words. Each sip warmed him and his thoughts drifted to their move. Dreaming of the city had felt distant and unyielding, but today, it was different. Today held promise. "Yeah, it does," he replied, his gaze falling on Mason and Mia, their laughter refreshing. After finishing their drinks, David felt a bursting need to explore more. He suggested they take a stroll through the nearby park, its greenery a stark contrast to the city's rigid structure. As they wandered, the children darted between the trees, weaving a path of laughter that filled the air. David and Clara trailed behind, engaged in a quiet conversation that felt intimate amidst the chaos of life around them. "Do you remember when we first moved into our old neighborhood?" Clara's eyes sparkled. "How lost we felt, and then we found our footing." David chuckled softly. "Of course. I thought I'd never figure out where to buy the best groceries. But then we found that little shop on Maple Street. The one with the awful coffee," Clara teased. "Hey, that awful coffee was a comfort. It had character," he protested, smiling at the memory of their early days together. Just then, Mason and Mia returned, cheeks flushed from running around. "Look what we found," Mason exclaimed, holding up a feather, shimmering like it held a piece of the sky. "That's beautiful," Clara encouraged, her enthusiasm sparking something in David. Suddenly, a sense of curiosity washed over him. Could these little moments embody the journey they were on? Was each experience a way to discover not just the city, but themselves? As they continued to stroll through the park, vibrant flowers and playful squirrels reminded him that beauty lies in the unexpected. They stopped by a small pond, where the children tossed pebbles, sending ripples across the surface. David felt stirred by the scenes of joy, the pure laughter of his children, Clara's unwavering optimism, and the way the everyday could transform into something extraordinary. Just when they were ready to head back, something caught David's eye. Off to the side, a small crowd was gathered, peering at an emerging artist creating a mural on a large canvas set against the park's backdrop. David drifted toward the colorful work in progress, feeling drawn in. The artist's strokes were bold and alive, breathing energy into the damp afternoon. "What if we gave it a try?" He turned to Clara, a spark of inspiration igniting his voice. "Try what?" Clara asked, raising an eyebrow. "Art. We could each create something just like this," he suggested, nodding towards the mural. A thought nagged at the back of his mind. Could an afternoon of creativity teach them more about themselves? Clara's expression shifted from surprise to intrigue. That could be fun. A family project? David felt his heart race. He was stepping into something new and, in that moment, it felt exhilarating. Together, they could explore this side of life, their courage entwined like the colors on the canvas as the bright strokes danced on the wall. David realized they stood not only amidst the canvas but on the brink of rewriting their own story. Just before they joined the thrumming pool of inspiration around the artist, David felt a pulse of excitement. What if this was just the beginning for them? What other adventures awaited as he followed this path of creativity? Would they emerge with a new understanding of themselves? As they took their place among the eager crowd, David felt the weight of uncertainty lift, replaced by the thrill of discovery that lay just ahead. The afternoon sunlight poured into the park, casting a golden hue over everything. David, Clara, Mason, and Mia stood together, brushes in hand, ready to unleash their creativity, a promise of new beginnings looming before them. The vibrant canvas beckoned, the artist's joyful strokes a melody of hope, and at that moment, it didn't just feel like a landscape of colors. It felt like a metaphor for their lives. As Mason and Mia splattered bright hues onto the canvas, giggles erupting with every explosion of paint, David felt a warmth envelop his heart. Each stroke they made resonated with an array of emotions, transforming their shared worries into visions of joy. It was an antidote to the echoes of doubt that had plagued him in the days leading to this moment. "Look, Dad, I made a sun," Mason squealed, holding his dripping brush high. And in that moment, it was as if David saw the sun breaking through the clouds of uncertainty that once hovered above him. Clara, with laughter dancing in her eyes, swirled different colors with a spirited brush. "Let us blend our dreams," she encouraged, her voice bright and inviting. It was more than just paint. It was a chance to navigate their future as a family, to mold their identities in this city that both excited and terrified him. As they worked side by side, the connection among them deepened. "Can we make this our garden?" Mia pointed to a bright pink section of the canvas, and the question struck a chord in David. "Absolutely. This is our garden of hope," he said, smiling at her innocence. Throughout the day, the celebration of their creativity flourished into something much bigger. Assisting the artist turned into an afternoon filled with laughter and connection. David found himself lost in the task, channeling his own bottled feelings into the canvas, splashing bold statements beside his children's playful designs. They grew fueled by camaraderie, building a symbol that declared, "We are here." As the sun began to set behind them, painting the sky in blended hues of violet and orange, David felt something transformative unfold within him. The worries of moving, the fears of the unknown, they began to fade like the retreating light. The world felt expansive, limitless. They could grow, thrive, be more than what they'd ever known. With laughter still echoing, they finished their art as the day drew to a close. Seeing the final result, a blend of swirling colors bubbling with life, left a sense of accomplishment swelling in David's chest. It was a lesson in unity. It was a statement of resilience. "Dad, can we come back tomorrow and do more?" Mason asked, wide-eyed with excitement. "Definitely," Clara replied, her smile radiant. "There is so much more to explore here." And in that brief exchange, David felt a surge of conviction. "We're going to make this our new home. Kids," he declared, the echo of his voice bouncing off the canvas like a promise. Later, as they strolled back toward their car, the murmur of the city seemed to blend seamlessly with their laughter, enveloping them in an embrace of possibilities. The streets, once overpowering, began to feel familiar, almost like a friend. As they drove home, David felt a resolve settle deep within him. He looked back at the twins, who spoke animatedly about their future adventures. Their spirits were bright, untouched by fear, a mirror image of hope. "We'll face whatever comes next together," he voiced quietly to Clara, confidence slicing through any lingering doubt. "Together," she replied, squeezing his hand. She understood the common thread. They now shared the determination to build something beautiful from the unknown. As they arrived home that evening, David looked at the messy masterpiece they had created, reflecting not just a day of play but a new beginning forged from connection, love, and hope. The city was theirs to conquer. It would be a canvas for dreams they were just beginning to paint. With hearts alight and smiles wide, they stepped into the house, each one transformed, ready to nurture the garden of their future. David knew this was just the start, a step into the bright unknown that awaited them, where every choice would bring them closer to each other and to who they were truly meant to be. And as they settled down that night, with the soft hum of the city outside their window, a feeling washed over David. They were not just moving to a new place. They were moving forward, together, creating their path in a world ripe with potential. Now, as you've followed this incredible story, remember this moment, this transformation. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm you need to show your support. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share your thoughts with us. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Together, let us spread the hope and joy that flows from this tale.